Go.
Greetings and welcome to Digital Week Online. We have a great panel here on DeFi, the future of banking, which I think is a really hot topic right now as DeFi is maturing and it's starting to become more usable. Less tech and more returns for the average investor. So I just want to introduce the panel here. It's people who really are movers and shakers in the industry. But why don't you guys introduce yourself and introduce your platform in a minute or less, so we can get to conversation. Tim, start.
Thanks, James. Yeah, so just real briefly about me. I'm Tim Frost, the CEO of Yield App. This is my third digital bank. I was part of the founding team at Wyrix, which out of the UK, which now has 3.5 million clients. I have taken a digital challenger bank, Equibank, to market before kind of founding a Yield App, which we are aiming to build a fintech company to be able to offer DeFi to kind of retail-based clientele and kind of corporates in more of a fintech-based fashion.
Cool, Marco. You're no sound, Marco. We'll come back to you while you figure out the sound issue. Trent.
No, got it. Sorry, somebody muted me.
Okay.
Sorry that it keeps coming up like this, but I live in the Cayman Islands, and sometimes voice over IP is not the best thing in the world. So I've got video running on one system and audio on another. I run a company called BlockBox, which is primarily a strategic advisory and in some cases a build. We do a little bit of work on the layer 2 stuff, but most of our work is around layer 1, where we're building blockchain protocols that are suited to particular use cases. We've got several projects on the go. One of our strategic clients, obviously, is Casper Labs. We're looking forward to launching real soon and seeing a lot of potential DeFi platforms being able to be built on there. And I guess one other thing I'd say is that our motto inside BlockBox is, let's look at it first, and if somebody would actually want to pay for it, then let's build it.
Trent.
Good morning, everyone, and James, and thank you for having me. In Australia, it's 4:30 a.m. At the moment.
Thank you for waking up for us, Trent.
So typically, I'm participating in other activities at this time that usually revolves around the unconscious. But essentially, one of the principals, directors at ZeroCap, an Australian wealth management firm, and prime broker for digital assets. So essentially, we provide crypto investment, prime yield services to investors and institutions globally. So,
cool.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.
Thank you for bearing with us, Trent. And Mamadou.
Hello, hi. My name is Mamadou Kujum-Toure. I'm the founder and president of Ubuntu Tribe. Ubuntu Tribe is a digital asset company that has put together a social commerce platform powered by digital gold in order to address key issues like financial inclusion, making gold accessible to anyone from as low as 5 cents on their mobile phone, but also creating a digital commerce platform allowing people to transact and to create wealth and have access to the global economy. It also, we focus on also sourcing gold ethically from mines and artisanal mines across Africa that, as you know, has 50%, almost 50% of the global gold reserves, and tokenize it and democratize access to gold while creating shared prosperity for the beneficiaries and also for the investors.
Interesting. Mamadou, what's the hardest thing about bringing people on your platform? Is it education or is it access?
I mean, both are linked, but access is, of course, one key issue, right? Because if you look at the crypto world today, with the concept of, crypto keys, etc., for the man on the street, it might not be an easy way to penetrate the market, and they might think like they need a PhD to effectively crack that environment. So what we've put together is a basic social commerce that combine social media, messaging, etc., as an easy entry point so that once you create your account, you have an embedded digital wallet that is compliant with KYC, AML, etc. So we really make it easy and user-friendly and create opportunities to transact so that we can develop as many use cases as possible for not only our gold token, but also for other cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, etc., where they could effectively get on board easily, fast, and with some very basic ways to engage with other people around the world. So we erase border by bringing everybody on that one platform so that they can engage peer-to-peer digitally with the crypto assets that we've put in place and others.
And Trent, how do you handle marketing? How do you bring on new customers?
Traditionally today has been primarily through referrals. And so essentially our customer base are family offices, high net worths, and I guess institutions. And so we typically have just had, I guess, quite a large global network of people that have just continually just got referred to us. We don't do a lot of outbound marketing, but it's, I guess our clientele, our customer base are essentially looking for a really safe, compliant, secure way to get into crypto digital assets. And that comes down to one, I guess, relationships based on trust, which tend to come through referred, because a lot of clients could just go to a crypto exchange in the first place. But yeah, so I'd say the biggest is for us is referred networks.
Interesting. So, Tim, how are you bringing people on board?
Yeah, so we officially launched about 1 month ago, and so we've seen this kind of early growth. We have about 20,000 users in the first month, and primarily we're seeing it right now through through our kind of marketing channels that we have kind of set up through our kind of influencer network, where we kind of predicted for the kind of the first movers, those that already kind of have crypto assets that kind of want to put their assets to work by generating yields in DeFi. So those are the first early movers, but we kind of foresee obviously what we're going to have to be doing kind of moving forward into the next stages of how we're going to be kind of acquiring clients. But it's building trust in local communities. So we're a retail focused operation. So but retail often moves quite quickly. But I think it's about that, having that local trust. So we're building a lot of local communities with kind of different thought leaders and influencers, and building trust on a local level, and that it can help build those really fast. We can build local communities there.
So why is DeFi better than a bank? Like, why do we need the future of banking? Anybody?
So I might try my luck on that one. At the end of the day, and I'll take the case of emerging markets, right, where today you technically have 2 billion at least adults and close to 4 billion people to 5 actually, who don't really have a bank account or proper access to finance, right? So it means that over the past 3 centuries, the penetration of the traditional banking has failed to address the majority of the population on the planet. For many reasons, of course, because it has a lot of constraints to kind of open a bank account, and because the brick and mortar traditional approach to penetrate the market and rural areas makes it very complicated. Now, if you take the case of Africa, where we literally invited mobile banking, it was basically to kind of address the problem of infrastructure. How do you move money when the roads are either not there or not of great quality, and where you're not going to have a bank at every corner of the street? So you go digital. So we started that 15 years ago. And now, in the case of the African continent and other emerging markets, is now how can you mobilize capital now that you can transfer money? And the best way to do that is to do it in a decentralized way, because there's a lot of savings that is sitting either under mattresses or not in a bank, or in a bank, and that are looking for for potential return, and having a decentralized way using technology allow for people to digitally pass the constraints of KYC AML, and that's what we do. We have face recognition and are plugged to databases that ensure. And also then with the different platforms that exist, then you don't have to go through the different challenges and hurdles of a traditional bank, and quickly you can use the digital payment, digital infrastructure to mobilize capital quickly to be able to fund your projects. So it's a way of leapfrogging, and the same way as we leapfrog fixed lines 20 years ago to go straight to mobile, because at the time it was only 3% penetration on fixed line. 20 years later, you have 70%, 80% penetration on mobile. So we've really viewed for emerging markets digital decentralized finance as a level playing field, allowing people who were disadvantaged in the past to effectively be able to create wealth and have a community approach to deploy it. One last point that is very important is that even in our culture, it's always been there for centuries. What you have like Stockfels or Tontine, where you had community lending in villages or in cities where specific communities would meet every weekend. One would have a project and they would fund them. So the culture and the mindset is already there. Now, what we're going to basically be doing is to bring the technology that allows the appropriate way. So I certainly believe that the African continent and some other emerging markets, Asia also has that, will leapfrog the rest of the world once the technology is available for them to actually efficiently deploy something that they've been doing for centuries. So they're implicitly already understand it, and they've been waiting for the effective tool to really scale.
And I get the sense, Marco, you're next. To cue you in, I get the sense that Tim and Trent, you guys are solving a different problem than Mamadou. You're on it's like a barbell thing here. One end we have access, and on the other end, I think I think you guys are more after guys looking for security and yield, right?
Well, I mean, I'm glad to kind of jump on this. I mean, I think everything he hit on Mamadou on that was kind of spot on, but even more so. So yes, yields is one aspect to this, but I think decentralized finance is such a broad topic, and it covers so much. I mean, to me, what the most exciting thing that decentralized finance has been able to offer is offering people a way of opting out of like their potentially unstable national currencies. So it's it started with Bitcoin, and that goes through a capital controls, which anyone that's ever lived in a jurisdiction that has capital controls know how limiting it is as an individual or to operate a business, and just things that are completely out of your control, and obviously just kind of they don't kind of conflicts with just common logic of how you would be able to kind of freely live. So particularly, I think the developing markets are the ones that are going to be benefiting, the most, and the ones that that essentially need decentralized finance now, and being able to offer yield. So like I said, we're working on pilots right now in some developing markets where they have unstable national currencies, and just to be able to give people locally the opportunity to actually hedge their capital. And even if it's not in Bitcoin or Ether or another kind of digital asset, even if they want to hedge it in like USD and a stable coin, like they have this opportunity and actually can put their capital to work, instead of losing and getting their currency devalued on kind of almost a constant basis. They can actually, I guess, like hedge their money and ideally kind of earn on that capital. So I mean, to me, I think that's the no-brainer approach where DeFi is going to make the most impact right now.
I think we share the same. If I may quickly, you're probably going to have to add one more stable coin on your list, which is ours, which is called Godol, which is backed by gold, right? So as a hedging, that's actually the very reason, because though our currencies are not stable, I keep on depreciating while gold appreciates. So let's talk after this, and you'll be quite amazed what digital gold can do.
I get a percentage. I get a percentage.
Yeah, really.
Do, James.
No problem.
James, if I can just ask a question here, because I'm not a banker. And you brought me into this panel saying, "Oh yeah, Mark's going to be great in this panel," and I'm thinking, okay, future of banking. All I've been hearing is the current state of DeFi. No offense, guys. It was probably partially because of the way where we all live and what we all do. But I think the really interesting topic is the future of banking, not DeFi. DeFi, think of DeFi as all the investment brokers and everybody else out there who knows how to take capital and turn it into more capital. That's what you're doing in the DeFi space. You're creating yield, you're creating opportunity, you're creating investment funds where, growth through entrepreneurism or, trade imbalances and things like that. But a bank, what is a bank? A bank is primarily custody from the user's perspective. They look at a bank as a place to place my money. And I don't put it there if I'm looking for it to get any serious growth, because I know damn well my bank doesn't know how to make money. My bank may have an investment arm that knows how to make money, which is DeFi again. But the bank is just a place I put my money because I don't want to walk around with it in a suitcase. And I don't want to convert it into gold, which is slightly smaller than a suitcase full of money, but a lot heavier. And diamonds are a problem too, because then, the prices vary depending on who you're talking to. So banks are there because it's a convenience of custody, more or less. They've evolved, obviously, but originally it was convenience of custody. You knew if you put your money there, there was a 99% chance it would still be there when you came back. And
or more importantly, banks tend to be insured, right? That's
where the government's got you. Well, that's where the government's got. They didn't start off insured. They just had big, heavy vaults, right?
Let's ask these guys: are you a replacement for the custody? If I'm a wealthy family office, are you the replacement for where I put my capital? Mamadou, do I take the money out of my mattress and put it into your app?
So in our model, basically, that's a very interesting that you raise this question, because we tokenize gold. Right? And we realize that there is a growing number of people who want to have their gold, not necessarily in a bank, but in private vaults, etc., and want also to have it liquid. And that's how we come very handy, because those are secured vault, nuclear proof, etc., where their assets are in custody, but where they're being provided liquidity for our godol, which it's a tokenized gold. So, of course, for that, yes, to answer that question, there are technology today allows to do or complement what banks can do. And even for banks, they're very interested in having gold in a liquid form, like a tokenized asset. And therefore, we're also addressing that question where the future of banking is going more digital, more liquid, with real assets that is actually backing those tokens. And to the question of custody, yes, you have secure digital vaults. Many banking vaults or private vaults are not keeping crypto keys, right, as secured. Now they do it privately, so you have that trend that is happening. And when it comes to generating capital, where banks are failing, that's where the digital world is actually also responding and making actually access to wealth and creating wealth in higher yield without being an expert in investment banking possible. We can look at the case of Bitcoin where people have access. And that's what we're doing by basically saying, let's use gold. It has a longer history. It has gained 500% in 20 years, 5,000% since Nixon. So there is a possibility today to do it without necessarily being, the traditional bank, because the digital world provides agility and access, right? It makes the world very small once you have a mobile phone, a tablet, or a laptop, without being, a 300-year-old respected bank.
Right, but you haven't changed the model, right? That's the thing that I'm noticing here. This is existing banking with a digital wrapper.
Right?
No, but it isn't. It's gold.
Yeah, no, let me explain one thing, is that at the end of the day, Gold has value whether we want it or not. It's digitized, right? Now, the reality behind it is that you can decide, like everything, it has value or not, like Bitcoin. But there is one thing today, which is in human history, regardless of geographies or culture, it has always had value. So, and so for us, it's a perfect entry point because the man on the street understands that. Bitcoin has been there for 10 years. The penetration is still 0.00001%. What we know is if we want to bring people to crypto, we're going to have to speak their language. Why? How? With social commerce, digital media, etc. And an asset that they know where you use the power of blockchain to make it sensible to them. So at the end of the day, you want to change the model, you can just jump off the roof, or you can say, I'm going to go gradually.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not shooting down your idea or your marketing model or your functional model at all.
I know that.
What I'm saying is it's not the future of banking. It's banking today.
No, I'll tell you why. Because at the end of the day, if it was banking, everybody would have gold in their hands. It's not the case. To buy gold
no,
today,
because not everybody wants gold.
Well,
no, not in Africa, my friend.
I'll take Mamadou's side on this. Historically, banks are regulated by the state, and the states only authorize the banks to give you the local currency for your account. So you don't have the flexibility of picking an asset which would hedge you against inflation. Africa is a perfect case of runaway inflation country to country, and the idea that you can actually hold a hedged asset was illegal.
Exactly.
I think is still illegal in most of the states. So I know in Zimbabwe there was a huge problem.
The opposite side of the banking industry, right? It's how the government's using it to control their monetary system and their people. You see it everywhere, and it is everywhere.
But let's talk about. So I think this goes back to regulation. Is this if I'm let's say I'm risk averse. Let's say that I actually care about the regulations and I want to do things within the government's prescribed laws. Is the function of it? Are you guys all regulated? Are you all getting licenses to be custody holders and deliver these services?
Yeah, we're laying our application with the SEC so that we have Reg D, Reg S compliant. So we're going to be fully regulated. Yes.
Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the pathway we are going down because we're going after a kind of a retail client, and so.
See, I think that's the difference between DeFi and banking, right? DeFi to me is the route around the existing setup, where you can do things which are not being allowed either intentionally or by the law of unintended consequence by the legal establishments. Whereas banking to me is is an activity within the system where you're paying attention and maybe pushing the envelope over time through an intercourse with the regulators. Trent, how have you dealt with regulation?
This is my bank. Can you see that? I don't know if you can. It's a mobile wallet on my phone. That's my bank.
No,
it's secure custody of my money outside of the regulatory framework.
So, Trent, how are you handling it?
We are going to be getting financial licensing, but purely because we're going to be offering regulated Bitcoin funds for wholesale investors. But I think in terms of what everyone's saying, I like Marco's take on it because, like, if we really look at it, like all we're doing is dressing it up in a different manner. But if we look at the core, of what a bank does, it is custody, and it's a place where we are supposed, and it's also a system of control, right? Because we've been bred, or we have been conditioned to just hand someone and build trust in this third party, this intermediary. And I see with DeFi, and I'm a big believer in the space with crypto. I mean, our company is a alternative to banking. We have clients that have actually been shifting their money from traditional banking into, into custody with us, into the digital asset realm. But I think what it really comes down to is there's probably just more of an awakening at the moment to people and just understanding, what is value, like what is money, and how do we view trust. And so I guess they're just looking for that trust, or looking for some type of way where they're going to be able to transact in value that's not going to be, censored in any way or controlled. And that's, I'm not too sure what's happening around the rest of the world, but in Australia, we had a cash bill here where they were going to be banning the use of cash over 10,000. You'd get 2 years imprisonment if you did any transaction over 10,000 in cash, and up to 25,000 in fines. And so there was a really big pushback. And in Australia, that bill actually just got squashed. It was being led by the Black Economy Task Force. So there was this narrative around, cash equals illegal criminal activity. And so it
maybe the government should stop enabling people.
Yeah. Well, it brought more awareness from people about what is actually going on in the financial system. So there's been a really great little awakening here, and as other parts of the world through other, igniting, like or ignition, like through hyperinflation through Africa, Venezuela, Lebanon, whatever. But I think just wrapping this up, like there is a real awakening, I think, at the moment, particularly as cash is, as we sort of moving from a cashless or moving into a cashless society, and people looking for alternatives. And I don't think the biggest threat to, the existing banking system is, crypto and DeFi. I think that's their factors in it, but I think it's the central bank digital currencies. I think is going to be an internal, battle between the banks, because why would you need to have an account at a commercial bank when CBDCs come out, and plus technology platforms like WeChat and Facebook and a bunch of others. So I think it's going to be a pretty interesting space for banking, but all in all, it's going to provide choice for people, because ultimately I don't want to bring one system down, because by the very merit that I want choice, I want other people to have that choice as well. And people will choose traditional, they'll choose, technology, they'll choose digital assets.
That was a really
James has just pinged me and sorry, James. I was going to say, you just yelled at me in the chat. So I'm going to do this as a question. Based on the assumption that the replacement for traditional banks, brick and mortar institutions whose primary role is custody, and just that component, right? Let's forget all the brokerage houses, has been already replaced effectively, although it just hasn't, the implementation isn't there yet. It's not, what's the word William Gibson one? It's not evenly distributed yet. The future is here, but not evenly distributed. So we've got this thing called a wallet that, for argument's sake, one can argue is a bank. It's yours. It's your particular bank because you set it up. You've got the keys and everything else. How does that change the world of banking going over the next 10 years? When people slowly wake up to the idea that I actually have a bank on my smartphone or on my PC or on my Mac. Okay. Now what do I do with my money?
Can I take that?
Yeah, go for it.
Please.
So, it's always interesting because I don't know if you want to, I understand that in your point, bank may or may not be relevant. It's a point of view. I understand the issues on banking. Trust me, I've been in banking for 20 years and I exited for a reason, yeah? To get into blockchain and other things. So I know exactly what you're talking about. But I just want to bring you 20 years back, yeah? 20 years back, basically, we would have the same kind of conversation, the future of media. And then at the table, there will be people like you who would say, oh yeah, print is dead. Future is digital media, etc. 20 years later, people still buy newspapers. But a bigger chunk of the population are on digital actual media. And you had another phenomenon that started pushing 10 years ago, that was social media, where you get to user-generated content as active phenomenal news, right? It took over, but you still have the old model. Now, would you tell me that somebody who's gone and take the newspapers and put it digital was not in media? No, it was the future of media. What we're talking about is the same system here. There is a legacy system that has its issues, and we all know, if not, we wouldn't be doing what we do. So what we tried, some decide to make it better. others decide to disrupt, right? So at the end of the day, is my grandma will probably still hold a bank. So I was like, okay, how do I, at first she doesn't even have a bank account because she's not eligible, KYC, AML, forget it, right? And I'm not even sure the bank will go to those places. So I decided I'm gonna be taking care of those who have been forgotten by the system. Where you are is like, the system is broken, I'm gonna fix it for those who wanna break the system. It's a different approach, right? But at the end of the day, I'm still dealing with an issue that might not be relevant in your head or in your perspective. I have 4 or 5 billion
transition.
people. No, I have 4 or 5 billion
It's transition.
people. Yeah, right? How do we make sure, you were talking about distributing. I'm all about distributing. I did distributed power, distributed money, distributed telecoms. So I'm with you. But we have 5 billion people who are left out, right? And if we can give them access, not to banking, but to what the banks does, but in a better way, digitized, and also keeping them out of poverty and not falling in the poverty trap where you got debt just until here, like the millennials in the US, which is probably the most indebted generation in the history of America. So it's a global problem. So that's why you have those digital assets. Could be Bitcoin, could be digital gold, or could be other things. But you make it accessible in the hands. That's the future of banking. Go where banks couldn't go, at least for me, in a way that is much more disruptive and much more inclusive and redistributing, right? So that's the point I wanted to make for that comparison, because if we look today at 2050, then there'll certainly still be banks. But
Absolutely.
maybe 5% only might be used the traditional bank and 95% use it digital, or others have just their crypto wallet, right? Okay. And we are at the cusp of this generation preparing for that future. That's really how I see it.
Love it.
No, I think we're often overlooking. We're often stuck in this crypto bubble that we sit in. Everyone in here is quite affluent with crypto, but like, do I agree? Yes. I mean, absolutely. Everyone will have a wallet on their phone, but doesn't mean it's going to be a crypto wallet. Like, I mean, brick and mortar is dead, right? And anyone that's, even conceiving to build in that is going to be a dinosaur, quickly forgotten. But, it's when you we're touching on a few things, like the chasm, how do you cross this, right? This, where's the customer support, right? Like when you're talking about the 99% of the world, where's the insurance aspect? Like, what happens when someone steals their money, or they send, or they send their tether to like some contract address, right? Like, who's there to bail them out, right? And this is kind of the things that, I guess the current system has, that, we still have these safeguards put in place. And so, I mean, the future of banking, which I think this panel is on. I mean, I think that we all know this. So there's going to be a convergence, right? Digital assets and national currencies are converging, and it is happening. It's even happening in the United States right now, and it's they're meeting head on, and they will live together. But I think we got I predict a very slow adoption for kind of these decentralized digital currencies, even as enthusiastic as I am about the entire space. So.
Interesting. So Trent, give me your thoughts, because I know you represent, you market to family offices, and you have a very staid platform, actually, in terms of how it looks like a legacy platform. But I know you personally, are pretty far out there on the spectrum with us. So what's your thoughts? And do you think that the average moves towards crypto over time, or do you think these are two different populations that have different needs?
In essence, I think that, banks aren't just going to sit there, or traditional banks aren't just going to sit there and just watch the world pass them by. And you already have banks that are making moves into, custody and digital assets. The Office of the Comptroller at the end of last year, or mid to late last year, already gave the green light for banks to be able to custody digital assets. And so I think the banks, even in South Korea, actually, I think like 4 of the 5 banks or 3 of the 5 banks or whatever, I remember reading late last year, were already investigating, custodying digital assets. So the way I sort of see it, banks are going to try to keep up. Technology companies are going to continue to build out their, alternatives. In terms of, where we sit, it's like we've had some customers that have, and I mentioned this before, that have been moving out of the traditional banking system, and they've moved, millions of dollars just purely into digital assets, with a split between USDC, USDT, and Bitcoin just as a as a hedging strategy, just because of inflation. But the way that we sort of see it is that, and our clientele is not representative of the overall market, but it's certainly one where our overall vision has always been to not necessarily bank the unbanked, but to unbank the banked. And
like
to
that.
sort of
I like that too.
Nice one.
and it's and I mean, that's not something new. That's
you can still take credit. Don't worry about it.
Like I remember I was at there was like a gathering of 100 people within banking, finance, and crypto that came together sort of a couple of years ago, and I remember there was a lot of questions, but it was primarily traditional finance and banking. And I came out with that, and just delivered a whole sort of soliloquy on banking or unbanking the banked, and it was just silence. There was just no appreciation for the
You sure it wasn't terror?
But just sort of wrapping it up, I think that there's I'm a big believer in Kant's categorical imperative, which is if you want something, then it has to be classified as a universal, that it's available to everyone. And so I'm not a fan of just, like as I mentioned before, tearing down systems, even though I think there's huge inadequacies and fraudulent behavior in the existing banking system, and that they can get away with what they do get away with. But it still should be there for people to have choice, to be able to access. But I don't think they're going to stand idly by. They're going to make moves, and they're going to make moves within that sort of that gilded cage of innovation. So they haven't really done much. But I think as we come up, it's going to depend on how regulators sort of approach the space, because we are going to be governed to a degree by that. It's going to be governed by technology companies, how quickly they move on it and provide. If DM or Libra or Facebook, come out, China's already dominated by WeChat. Why would they need, digital assets apart to, except to move currency because of capital restrictions out of the country? That's the only real reason for it. Otherwise, they're living in the comfort of having everything on, this. So I think it's going to be sort of regional in terms of the future of banking, if we're talking digital assets and DeFi.
I think one of the things you need to remember is that the system doesn't defeat the upstart with frontal attack. It defeats the upstart by absorbing it, right? And you get assimilated by the Borg, essentially. So
that was the thing that I was chuckling about, James, was that the idea that if you stop and really think about it, banks becoming custodians of crypto is a comic strip.
But people
They're
will
no
go
more
for
qualified
it.
to be custodians of crypto than Bitcoin.
Look at the Grayscale Trust, right? The Grayscale Trust is traded at a premium forever, and all they're doing is taking your money and buying Bitcoin. The Wall Street and all the sophisticated investors were selling the Grayscale Trust and buying Bitcoin, to get an arbitrage. They were getting, 10% for free, right? So, at the end of the day, I think that there's a lot of friction in the system. I think that once I believe in the decentralized systems, I believe in the systems that are outside of the of the regulatory scheme works, and I think that that's where the interesting stuff happens. I also think once you make the first motion, the first little touch to be regulated, then it's binary. You're regulated. because you have a single point of failure. And my fear is always the fear that I had for my friends in Argentina and my friends in Zimbabwe, which is one day you wake up and the bank and the government says everything you have more than $5,000 in your bank belongs to the government because you're a good citizen, right? And your money is gone and there's nowhere to get it back. And you've lost it. So when I look at Trent, I look at your platform, and I look at your platform, which, by the way, I'm a customer of both, and I love them both. I think they're both fantastic and cutting edge. But the thing that bothers me about using them, and less so because I know you guys, but the other platforms I don't know the guys, is I don't own the keys, right? Yeah. So if something bad happens to Tim, or Thailand decides to cut off the internet, right? Where's my crypto? Where's my value? And that to me makes it what you're doing resemble old style banks because of the custody aspect, right?
Well, go ahead. I guess what we learned is people don't want to be their own bank. You know, when Obama and, South by Southwest in 2016 came out and said, you can, it's like having a Swiss account, bank account in your pocket. It's more like having a Swiss bank in your pocket, right? Because it's not just an account, it's like full services. But the thing is that when you get into really meaningful money, people don't want to take accountability or responsibility for their finances. They don't want to type in, the wrong address, or, happen to lose their keys, or, there's that fear of hacking. Most of our customers take up insurance, not because it's necessarily needed, but because it's that peace of mind.
You sleep better.
As much as we want to say, be your own bank, the response we're getting is we don't actually want to be our own bank. We want to, put that on you.
But other interesting things. Go ahead, Mohammed. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I mean, look, in our case, the way we go around this, and the question of custody is very important, of course. But we are basically setting up an insured wallet, right, where people will have custody and their wallet will be insured up to a certain amount. Because I think this question of people not wanting to take responsibility is temporary. We're actually going towards a world where it's a DIY everywhere for everything, right? And banking will not be spared by that, especially with this very question that you mentioned, is that what if it's the fan, right? And it might most than certainly hit the fan, right? So the point is, that's why people also want to now take action and take ownership. So again, technology can address that question where everything is automated. You have simulations, you have a dashboard, you have trading, etc. We're working on that because the future is people want to take full ownership and get sovereign.
I think you're overthinking this, though. I mean, you're talking about people, their entire net worth on their phone at all times. Like, I mean, this is too much, too quick. I mean, some people, yes. And for the people on this call, absolutely. Right. But like for the average person, they want to hold some money. Everyone has a wallet in their pocket. Everyone has cash in their pocket. Right. And that's like spendable cash. But like, you want to be like, if someone came and pickpocketed you, right? That's kind of a simulation, right? Someone comes and pickpocket you, can't lose everything, right? I mean, hackers, I mean, we are a long ways away. I mean, the youth will adopt. They will adopt early, right? And the next generations will. But I think we're still talking about.
Yeah, of course, not ultra high net worth. I agree, but it's once again 0.001. But I agree, you're right. Once you have so much money, yeah, you want. But again, yeah, it's
it's whatever's meaningful to that individual. So I don't think it would just necessarily be high net worths, because it's whatever's going to be meaningful for that individual in relation to their unique circumstances, I think. And like, I would love to see people become their own bank, right? But I think you also need to have a strategy where you have one single, point of failure. And if that is, on a mobile, and if there's backups, and if, what is the estate planning behind that if something happens to them as an individual. So I think these are all things that are going to be built in and innovated on. And I think where we're at the moment is that it's those individuals and groups within society at the moment that are wanting to take on board, this type of risk and allocate a portion to it. And then if they move all the way towards it, then great. Like personally, I'd love to see that.
But let's step back a second and look at the other side of what a bank is, right? Banks take in money and give returns in custody to individuals, but also their job historically has been to pool capital and make it available for growth in business, right? So, Tim, I'm going to give you a softball here. Looking towards the other side of banking and how you might be evolving. We want to talk about some developments at Yield, and then Trent, I think you'll have some stuff to say as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, one thing that we've been launching right now, we got our first clients on that is on the treasury management side. And, not even to go after like traditional kind of banking, but just, I guess it was more of a crypto focused kind of problem, particularly like the last bull run we saw a lot of enormous sums of capital be raised that was kind of available, and that basically evaporated very, very quickly. People didn't know how to kind of properly kind of manage their treasury, different companies and projects. So, corporate treasury overall, again, this is, focusing, whether that's a fund or, a corporation that, want to kind of experiment into the crypto world or kind of dabble. I mean, that's, a great opportunity and something that we're kind of actively in and already have the first clients on that. And I'm sure, that's probably your primary focus, Trent, I'm sure, on your guys' side.
Trent, you dealing with corporates at all?
Yes. So from a treasury perspective, yes. And for them, it's not, so, I mean, we have custody and we have yield products as well. On the treasury side, what we're noticing is they're just wanting to park it. They're not interested in the yield aspects. Our other customers, they go more towards the yield, are, a combination where they're just looking for yield somewhere in the market and they haven't been able to find in the traditional financial markets. But yeah, agree with Tim. We're starting to see much more of an uptick. We're seeing a lot more curiosity from corporations wanting to find out how they can actually, and that's probably off the back of Saylor and Musk just going YOLO into, Bitcoin. And I mean, it wasn't necessarily the big defining moment why corporations thought, all right, now's the time, because they already had those considerations because of the economic climate. But having Elon Musk come out and say, 1.5 billion, he tends to be a little bit of a trendsetter. So yeah.
Mamadou, how are you handling it? Do you look at all towards corporates?
Yeah, very much so. Did you know, for instance, that out of the top 7 countries using Bitcoin in the world, 3 are Africans: Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa. Mm-hmm. And the 3 of them have one major issue: currency, right? And those who are actually the ones using the most Bitcoin is not so much the population than the corporates. Why? Currency is depreciated, they need to hedge or they need to move money, right? Yeah. Now they have a second issue. As great as Bitcoin is, and I'm a big fan, it's hyper volatile, right? Now, where you offer them digital gold, they have a much better, or at least another alternative, not only to hedge, but also to be able to move capital where you have restrictions. Now, second point, also the corporate have major issues when it comes to international trade, and SMEs also, right? When it comes to borrow money, it's very complicated for SMEs because you need basically to show, the color of the socks of your great grandmother to be able to get a loan, if you're lucky, right? Now, the nice thing with gold is that you can use that as a collateral. Banking works on the base of collateral, right? They will have an issue to take Bitcoin as collateral, but they'll be much more comfortable taking digital gold as collateral. The second element, also, then they can buy our gold, which are digital gold, build collateral, build wealth, and start trading. Guess what? The Nigerian naira or other, let's say the Filipino real or other currencies of Venezuela, for instance, have an issue to trade because people don't want their currency, and those corporates still need to trade, right? And that's where, when you offer an alternative stable coin that is also gaining value, then you have a great opportunity to serve the corporate market. And last but not least, when you look at the way the decentralized aspect of money, guess what? Yes, you have, let's say you have a million customers, right? Who have bought or got, which is a digital gold-backed assets, right? Now, they can sit on it or do, at least they won't put it under the pillow like they used to do, right? But now it can generate returns. In a bank, you might, your cash, especially in Europe, might generate negative returns, right? Now you have gold, you're sitting on it. It has an average growth every year anyway, but now you can use it to place it for the collective as a collateral and then get returns on it. So the corporate world is actually a very lucrative environment where you bring solutions which combine the power of blockchain with hard asset that has value in both worlds, right? And we are a bit that transition and allow again, equal access to opportunities when banks are extremely limited or restricted. When you took the loans that in some countries you would need, like the interest rate would be 20, 25, 30%. Forget it, you can't grow, right? Decentralized finance allow you that. Decentralized collateral with shared returns on those collateral and shared yield allows you that once you have the right platform. And that's where it becomes very interesting for the corporate world and for the entrepreneurs at the end of the day.
All right, so guys, we have 10 minutes left, and you guys have all been incredibly generous with your time. I want to give you a chance now, which I want to do at the end, to actually pitch your business. Talk about what is your platform, who would be interested, and how can people find you? Tim, start. You got 2 minutes, Tim.
Okay, sure. So yeah, I'm at yield.app. So we are building a fintech where essentially this new emerging class of decentralized finance, we're given an easy access to anyone. So we're building out robust fiat rails as well as multi assets that you can be able to deposit with your stable coins. Our Ether fund is now live, and so we'll have our Bitcoin fund that you can be able to deposit Bitcoin and actually earn yields kind of powered through decentralized finance. So I don't think I need 2 minutes. I've already kind of talked about it. But
listen, I always think if you can't explain your business in 2 sentences, you probably don't understand it, and I'm probably not interested. So good job, Trent.
So we're pitching businesses, are we? Okay.
No, this is your chance to talk to possible customers, and God forbid you make some money.
All right, possible customers. We're a wealth management platform, and so essentially, if you're looking OTC trade execution, custody with insurance, or generating yield, then that's what we provide, as well as prime brokering services. Mamadou as well. We actually have quite a lot of customers out of Africa, or South Africa, I should say, and been working with some of the companies on ground to provide liquidity to primarily the South African population. But yeah, so we're pretty familiar with a lot of the capital restrictions there, but also people just looking to get in because of the they don't trust the government or their banking. But so it's so we are like a private bank for digital assets on one hand, and we are a prime broker and provide liquidity for institutions on the other hand.
And how do we find you, Trent?
www.zerocap.io. We tend to put out quite a lot of content and insights as well, so feel free to jump in there, and you can also hit me up at trent@zerocap.io.
Okay, fantastic. Mamadou, you did it earlier, but give you one more chance that we can catch it as a
okay. Yeah, so our website is utribe.one, utribe.one. So what we do, we create shared prosperity by digitizing gold extracted ethically and making it available to everyone from as low as 5 cents, so that we address financial inclusion, poverty trap, and access to basic services like online education, edutech, and provide higher return to investors. We have 2 tokens. one that is gold-backed, 100% pegged to gold, which is GODL. And we have another one. We're doing our security token offering in the next couple of months in regulated security token exchange, where people will be able to buy our gold-backed token or our convertible instrument, which is called UBX, Zinuru, for which for every investment, every dollar to the token will be securing minimum purchase of 60% of gold reserves to guarantee downside protection and placement of the gold and digitizing gold for investors and with a view to list on the NASDAQ in a couple of years.
Fantastic. So does your gold token trade at a premium to gold to spot gold?
No.
So it trades flat?
We pay. Yeah, flat. We pay.
Okay, Marco, I saved the best for last.
There's transaction fees though.
Okay. All right. Don't worry. Thank you. I want to catch up with you afterwards, Mamadou. I'm very interested in your business. So Marco, talk to us about what you see. You have 3 minutes. Talk about what you see as the future of banking.
I see the generation coming up now taking banking in terms of custody and collateral management, which obviously feeds into the debt world, to completely out of the institutional hands. That's the generation coming up now. So we're not, you, James, and I, we might see it towards our Walker years, but it'll be a long time getting there, but it will get there to the point where people will realize that self-custody is just as safe as institutional custody once the systems are in place to do so. And James, you and I both know that there's a significant lacking segment that needs to be brought to bear before any of this will work. And that is a truly decentralized digital identity.
Well, exactly. I think that what's happening now is that people need to figure out who to trust. And I think that what's interesting on this call, what I really appreciated about everyone here, is that you're people you can look in the eye and understand and feel, camaraderie with, to understand that we're all going in this together. It's hard when you look at these new platforms and you get sushi and pancake and all these different names flying around. It's like, what? Yeah, how do you trust that guy with your money? And then you go, oh my God, that's $5 billion yesterday, right? So what I'm looking for is the ability to, I love the fact that you guys are putting your face on the product and you're helping people through the transition to where we're going to get in the future. And I really congratulate you all, and I really appreciate you spending the time with us. Thank you.
These are the teddy bears we all need to get through the future.
Thank you guys. And Trent and Tim, I already know you guys. I love you. Mamadou, will you send me a note? I want to get to know you better.
Sure, sounds great.
All right.